Hi, this is Frank Mealy from HeartlandDiaryUSA.com, bringing you news every conservative can use. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay up to date. There's been suspicion lately that Fox News is leaning left, and there was more evidence of that in an interview that Eric Shawn conducted with Jess Mason, the White House reporter from Reuters, who just the other day was harassing the President of the United States in a press conference he held with the President of Finland. You can listen here as Shawn finishes his interview with Mason about the president's executive order on health care for immigrants. And as he concludes that, he suddenly decides it's appropriate to celebrate Mason's conduct in the press conference with the president, where he basically, as I said, harassed the president. At the end, you'll notice that Arthel Neville, co-host of Shawn, feels compelled to also add her congratulations to Mason. So basically what we have is a Fox News that is anti-Trump. Well, that's what has happened. And listen up, and sorry to have to bring you this news.
Without health care.
And there is that fear, at least some. Is it based in fact that people try to come in to take advantage of our government healthcare system?
Indeed, and that's just a debatable fact between the two sides on this issue.
The healthcare advocates call this draconian. You're certainly going to see probably challenges in court. What do you expect along that legal line?
I think so, and that's sort of been the precedent for a lot of these things, is that they end up in court. It also doesn't give a whole lot of time to people who are working in consular offices around the world to come up with or to study and figure out what the criteria will be, because it'll be their job going forward, if this proclamation does go into effect in November, to test or require the people who are applying for those visas to show that they can pay for their health care.
And finally, do you know how people what they're going to do? Show up and get a visa and say, look, this is my health card? How does it work? Do we know?
Apparently, the State Department is going to set out some guidelines, but I haven't seen those yet, and I imagine the people in the embassies and consulate offices around the world are eager to see them too.
Well, you could ask the president next time you see him. I would be utterly remiss in my professional responsibilities if I did not praise your diligence, your dedication, and you just kept on with those questions the other day with the president, and you got the president of the United States yelling at you in front of a few hundred people, your colleagues and others, and millions on television watching. Here's how Jess Mason, some say this is a tutorial in journalism for journalism schools, handled a president who was yelling at him. Here it is.
The question, sir, was what did you want President Zelensky to do about Vice President Biden and his son Hunter?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, it was just a follow-up of what I just asked you, sir.
Listen, you ready? We have the president of Finland. Ask him a question.
I have one for him. I just wanted to follow up on the one that I asked you. Which
did you hear me?
Did you
hear me?
Yes,
ask him a question.
I will, but
I'm giving you a long answer. Ask this gentleman a question. Don't be rude.
No, sir, I don't want to be rude. I just wanted you to have a chance to answer the question that I asked you.
You were cool, you were collected, you were professional. What was going through your mind at that moment?
Well,
as it was happening?
Thank you for saying that. I think what was going through my job was what going through my head was just do your job. And that's what I was trying to do. He didn't answer the question, and I wanted to follow up, and followed up a couple times, and that's our job in those situations.
Do you ever see him at other times? Does he talk to you or say anything to you? I mean, what type of relationship, if any, do you have with the president?
Not since, well, he knows me. I mean, he called me because he called on me that day because he knows me, and I haven't had a chance to ask him a question since then. I was traveling on the day after that press conference to Florida, but the president didn't come back that day to talk to the pool on Air Force One, so we haven't seen each other since. But look, he has had opportunities to yell at other journalists before, and moves on, and I'm sure that he'll move on, and I'll move on from this as well.
Yeah, Dan Rather, remember Dan Rather, Richard Nixon, the President Nixon said, are you running for something? And Dan Rather stood up and said, no, were you? I mean, you were not rude in any way. You just were diligent and kept on asking to try to get to your point.
I appreciate that, and I think that's our job. It's our job to do follow-ups, and it's not our job to grandstand, and I wasn't in that case.
No long TV-type questions from this journalist, Mr. Mason. You are a class act.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Jess Mason of Reuters, White House correspondent. Mr. President, say hi to him or something next time. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Arthel?
Stellar job, Jeff. Thank you very much. Well,